Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Apologies sisters, a few technical issues, but we sort of got things going now. So I'm just going to work through these questions. I think Iqbal Bhai has given some paper as well. There's quite a lot of questions, and obviously I was hoping to be on the road by 2:30. So let's see how things go, inshallah. All these questions, obviously, I'm answering from a traditional perspective, a traditional position. These questions have obviously come with regards to what does the Sharia say regarding these things, what does the Quran and the Sunnah say regarding these things. So what is the ruling on shaving the eyebrows or unibrows? So when it comes to shaving eyebrows, then obviously shaving eyebrows has been made impermissible. There are some exceptions. The exceptions are if somebody has exceptionally thick eyebrows, then there is some scope for bringing them to some level of normality. Similarly, if somebody has a unibrow, then again there's some scope which is directly above the nose. There is some scope to remove just that tiny bit there. But generally speaking, we should refrain from touching eyebrows. Would it be appropriate for an alima to go cycling in the local area or streets? I think the question has been structured in such a way that the person who's asking the question knows the answer to it. Would it be appropriate for the masjid to provide the women with an area to pray salah in the masjid? I believe this would improve the spiritual well-being of many sisters in the local community. Just yesterday we met with the masjid committee discussing that very topic. They wanted my opinion on matters, and the current discussion is on the kind of logistics of it, is how that would be made feasible, how that would be managed. So yes, of course, there should be some facility, there should be some availability for women to pray salah, even those who are traveling or moving around, so it makes life a lot easier for them. But remember, based on that point, according to the Ahnaf position, for women to pray at home is afdal, it is superior, and at the end of the day, being an act of worship, we should go by what is considered as afdal, not necessarily what we think is better for us, so to speak. Dear Mufti Amjad Sahab, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, wa alaikum salam. How should masjid deal with the situation of today where the number of single mothers is rising fast and there is no support available as a community? The result being no guidance or male role modeling for the boys, who then fall into the government support system, which leads them to leaving Islam. How to attach youth to the masjid, accommodating them without scaring them off by grumpy old men. I hope I'm not a grumpy old man, who believe they have more right to it, keeping in mind that these old men have long gone, the future ummah will be missing and the masjids will be empty. Jazakallah khair, may Allah reward you tenfold for your efforts. Ameen. People do say, I'm a single parent with regards, or my children are being raised by a single parent, but it's not necessarily that it's a single parent, unless obviously the husband has died or the mother has died. They are two parents still. It's just that they're separate, meaning the parents aren't together. So that's something we need to understand. No parent, unless obviously the husband has completely disappeared out of the equation, no parent is necessarily raising the child or the children of a single parent. I think this is a language we just have to be a little bit careful. It's coming to the Islamic vernacular about single parent. There is still a husband. In fact, just yesterday I was talking to a brother who's obviously going through a divorce at the moment, and his wife is only giving him 6 hours access per week to the children. He's more than happy to have more access than that, but she's not giving. Of course, there's two sides to every conversation, but that's currently where we are on those things. There is much effort that's made to ensure that there's structured learning available in masjids for boys to come. Obviously, I've been here for 5-6 days. I've not seen that many boys in the masjid. There has been some, don't get me wrong, but there's not been that many boys. So it is important, and obviously I try my utmost to make Islam as appealable and as approachable as possible, with a good dash of humor as well, so that they don't get sort of put off by, as the sister put, grumpy old men. But at the end of the day, it's for the parents to make sure that they do that. Right now, it is the old men who are running the masajids, and sometimes we might think that, that's a bad thing. But I was speaking yesterday in a lecture that once these old men have gone, where are the next generation that are going to take these responsibilities? Where are the next generation of Aimma? Where are the next generation of speakers? Where are the next generation of Muftis that will take this responsibility on? So it's just that we don't want to be in a situation where there is a vacuum. How to convey rewards for nafal acts for marhooms rather. How many can you include? Parents, family, the whole ummah? There is no limit. One can include whoever and whatever that we wish to include within that. So there's no issues with that whatsoever in including anybody in a nafal act. Are there any nafal acts that you cannot share with more than one person? Example, Umrah, Quran reading? No, not that I'm aware of. Assalamu alaikum. It recently came to my knowledge that most of people around us don't know about the different methods of 4 rakat, sunnah muakkada, ghair muakkada, and 4 fard. They pray everything in the same way as 2 rakats. So if you please explain that in your session, it will help many people to correct their salah, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. There is obviously stipulated rakats, 2 rakats before Fajr, sunnah muakkada, 2 of the fard. Then obviously we've got 4 preceding the dhuhr, 2 post the dhuhr, then before asr, there is 4 ghair muakkada. Then for maghrib, I think the mic is on upstairs.
It should be.
Okay. That's it now. So then obviously the 2 rakats after maghrib, and then the 4 rakats, the 2 sunnah after isha as well. So there, as I said, if you've been through a maktab and you've been through some education system, then these are known, and this information is available. Again, you can't kind of force people to learn something. It's very difficult to force people to learn. It's the learning is a responsibility on every one of us. So it's, if we're not sure about something, we're supposed to contact ulama. We're supposed to come for this very reason. Obviously, Masjid Umar has put this on. I myself have our Dar Lifta. We have 2 channels, 2 Telegram channels, Markuz Lifta wal Qada, one for gents, one for sisters, in which they can post questions. And every Wednesday I have a fiqh hour on our YouTube channel in which I answer them. So, and I'm not the only one, I'm sure there are many other ulama that make similar themselves available. So the ulama are available. It's obviously our responsibility to reach out to them.
Just asking how it's done now.
Ji? They're saying people are praying it as 2 rakats rather than as 4 rakats.
The muakkada, the ghair muakkada. So after the 2 rakats and 2 rakats.
Which one?
The ghair muakkada ones.
As in when you're doing 4 rakats. So the reciting thana in the 3rd rakat. Yes, because the ghair muakkada, the view is that it only is in 2 rakats. And because the ghair muakkada is only considered in 2 rakats, therefore if a person reads it as 4 rakats, then they should pray thana in the 3rd rakat, because it's like a separate unit. So just Qari Sahib bringing my attention to maybe explain that a little bit clearer. Alhamdulillah, the Prophet Muhammad has informed us about the signs to indicate when it could be Laylatul Qadr. Is there a team of scholars who can analyze these signs and vibes to find out after Ramadan when it was likely to have been Laylatul Qadr? That would be helpful. Generally speaking, there's no specific team of scholars. It's an opinionated opinion. So really, they just look at what they feel is the right signs, and then they will give their opinions afterwards. But there is no dedicated team of scholars that does that. Where can we listen to your other bayans we missed at Masjid Umar? They're available on our YouTube channel, which is surprisingly named after me. So you can look on YouTube, find it, and they're all on there. Also, some of them are made available on Masjid Umar's YouTube channel as well. Menopause. How can I make my husband and adult children realize how debilitating the menopause is for me? Is there anything Islamic rulings on this that can help them understand? I have severe symptoms and sometimes hard to function, and I'm exhausted when I'm asking for help, as it's seen as nagging, so I try to avoid it. There are a number of questions, a few that came up yesterday near the end, and I was just kind of saying, look, this is not a fiqhy question, I don't know what to say here. And similarly, I've seen when I receive these questions, there's a lot in here as well, which aren't, and we're just using Islam necessarily as a means to kind of make a point. This is all about communication. In fact, the problem I'm finding is that husband and wives don't communicate. Why that is ridiculous. Bearing in mind the type of relationship that these 2 people have. So this is a fundamental issue. The fact that this sister has to reach out to somebody a scholar in order to kind of, because all the scholar can do is, I'm not a medical expert, so I can't necessarily advise on menopause. I'm not a bloke. I'm a bloke as well. I'm not a woman rather. That's what I was supposed to say. I'm not a woman either, so I've not experienced menopause. So again, I can't speak from experience. So I can't speak from a specialism, and I can't speak from experience. So there's not much I can add to that. All I can say is that this is an issue of communication, and so it's about the husband sitting with the husband and talking to him, really sitting with the children and talking to him. There's no kind of Islamic ruling as such, but I think the Islamic ruling is just a misnomer as such. It's just to give authority so that she's listened to. But as I said, it's unfortunate that the sister has to kind of reach out in order for her own family to listen to her. So I think that's a separate issue altogether. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti Sahab. I work with people with mental illness, example schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, etc., and their clinical treatment. I decided to work in this area to improve Muslim representation, as many Muslims seek support from these services. However, I've had some negative impressions from ulama regarding mental illness and treatment, and some positive. In this area of work, Islamically inappropriate, honorable, or would you advise I change my area of work? Of course, it's a plus thing. I don't know why ulama would say they have a negative impression of people working with people who have mental illness or treatment. It is important, absolutely. And it's good to have Muslim representation, but also it means that the Muslim must know something about Islam, because being a Muslim doesn't necessarily mean we know something about Islam. So at least they can add a religious kind of angle to some of the conversations that they're having. Having said that, obviously the NHS is a little bit careful, or wants to keep religion a little bit arm's length, because it doesn't want necessarily religious advice to be given to patients and medical patients. I guess maybe the issue is that this person is a woman that's asked this question, and maybe she's treating male patients who have mental illness, which can be very challenging, and is maybe potentially putting herself in not necessarily harm's way, but in difficult circumstances. So maybe if she can, put herself in a situation where she's treating women only, then that's okay. But I guess working in the UK, working in the NHS, that's going to be problematic for her. So maybe that's the reason why there's some negative comments, but I don't know. I have been offered a job as a salesperson for an aesthetic or cosmetic clinic selling dental implants, hair transplants, and all types of plastic surgery. Am I allowed to take phone calls to sell these treatments? I would avoid those, sister. Jazakallah. I would like to ask regarding women attending the masjid for salah. Since our masjid doesn't allow women to come on a regular basis for salah with Jamaat, we know that our Hanafi women are going to other masajids and are being influenced by their rulings. We would rather attend our local masjid and listen to our own imams and get their advice. With this background in mind, do you think it's better for Masjid Ummah to allow women to pray 5 times salah with the congregation? So we did say, of course, about this issue earlier when this was asked. With regards to 5 times prayer, you'll find that we can't get men into the masjid to pray 5 times a day. The chances of getting women in there are going to be even smaller, but there does need to be facilities for women to attend the masjid in order to pray. But there's nothing spiritually gained in the sense that there's no ta'aleem that takes place. So all you do is you pray your Jama'at and you go home. So what the sister is talking about is being influenced by their rulings, or whichever is a different sort of legal positions. That normally comes when there's a bayan. So when there's a bayan, usually masajid do make facilities available for women. But having said that, most of the bayans that take place in the masjid goes out through the e-masjid or whatever the program is. So women can listen to that at home. So I don't think that's the real reason. Again, that seems to be substantiating it, but it's not the real reason, because I've just answered why those points can be addressed through the means. One could possibly make an argument for Taraweeh, saying that, all I recite is Surah Ikhlas, and reciting that 20 times can be somewhat burdensome. Whereas if I come into the masjid, I can listen to a qari, listen for an hour and a half. So I can see that argument. That argument is slightly different. But then also it's about the logistics. It's about how you manage a masjid, how you move traffic, how people move around, because obviously people will need to go answer the call of nature, make wudu. There's people moving around. Some people pray 8 rakats, so there's people leaving. Some youngsters might say they're going to the masjid, but then they hang around outside and in the area. So there's lots of things to consider, which were all addressed yesterday evening when the committee met with me. And obviously they're going to give it some thought now, and inshallah, and act accordingly. I was waiting for this question because we got quite the opposite the other question yesterday. My husband always wants a lot of intimacy. Unfortunately, I'm not that way inclined, and it causes frustration and arguments. I have not been raised like this, and I find I cannot fulfill his needs. He doesn't like it when I say no, but I don't know what else to say. What is the Islamic ruling around intimacy? Should women be available all the time for the husband? Obviously, I don't know the age range of the people across there, so I'm going to assume there may be some young girls there as well. So I'll try to speak in a language which the adults will understand and maybe not so much the youngsters. But from a Sharia perspective, once every 4 days is a right of the husband. And that's because if he had 4 wives, then he would visit a wife on every other day, and therefore he would return to his other wife on the 4th day. So that is that he can demand that. Obviously, each man is different, without, as I said, being too forthright. Men are generally made with more needs, generally speaking, than women. It's for that reason that they can marry up to 4 wives, and a woman is restricted to marry one man, for other reasons as well, but that's one of the reasons. Similarly, as we've heard in a question earlier, a woman, when she starts to get into her 40s and 50s, experiences menopause, and she sometimes has no interest in that type of activity, whereas a man can continue to be potentially a father up until his 70s and 80s. So clearly Allah SWT has made a man very different than a woman biologically, there's no doubt about that. We also know the effect of estrogen, and we also know the effect of testosterone, and therefore when you have that testosterone in a man, there's obviously a greater desire there. So again, this is a question more of communication, not necessarily a Shari'i question. So this is more counseling. There's got to be a conversation between the couple and try to meet objectives. Remember, bear in mind that if a husband does not feel his needs are being met, then he's unfortunately going to slip towards haram. And if he slips towards haram, then either he's going to be engaging in activity on his phone, or he's going to be engaging in zina, and that is haram for him. So then he may suggest to his wife, well, okay, how about I take a second wife? And she may object to that. No, you can't do that either. Well, where does this leave this man? If the Sharia has given him this ability, then it needs to be met. Should women be available all the time? Of course, that's not feasible. That's not realistic, that women are available all the time. So again, there's a conversation that needs to be had, and then we need to kind of move forward with that. Assalamu alaikum, respect to Mufti Amjad, wa alaikum assalam. My husband and I argue quite a lot. Unfortunately, he keeps telling me I put everyone else before him. He says I'm always too busy with the children, the house chores, my work, and the family, his and mine. He now does a lot of things himself. He cooks for himself, he sorts out a lot of things himself, and only asks me to do things when he really needs assistance, and that's now becoming rare as time goes on. We have very little in common, and I feel he's just with me for the sake of the children now. Islamically, how should a wife be towards her husband? I've read books and watched videos, and there are so many mixed messages out there depending who you listen to. Jazakallahu khairan. So of course, unfortunately, the sister who's asking this question, unfortunately, this becomes an issue where now the husband has a choice. Either he continues to, challenge his wife, so to speak, that we're still husband and wife, aren't we? Or he feels that this is now going to always end up in arguments, and so he decides, the best option is to kind of, draw back and do my own thing, and that's exactly what's happened now, unfortunately. So there should be a direct relationship between the husband and wife. It's the most intimate relationship that exists between two humans. And so again, it's conversation. So the Shari'i, I've already explained from a Shari'i basis what needs to happen, but that's just from a point of debate. If there's love between husband and wife, then it should be more common. That's why, unfortunately, when people hear about marriage being described in this way, that's why they prefer, unfortunately, zina relationships. Because when they're boyfriend and girlfriend, it's a bit fun. It's it's exciting. It's adventurous. Everybody's keen to spend time with each other. And then you get married, and everybody sort of like become completely different, and it's a negative portrayal of marriage. And marriage should be more loving, more caring, because it's halal. So they need to kind of relight the flame in their relationship. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Musab, I feel I'm losing my children, especially my daughters. The way they live their lives is so different. I feel like they've become more westernized, but they can't see it. They wear the headscarf and pray, but they don't like it when I say, no, you can't go out. You can't wear this type of clothing. One of my daughters now says she wants to remove her headscarf. I'm lost and confused as I don't know what I can do. Honestly speaking, I feel like many of the girls today have masculine behaviors. Any advice, suggestions, what I can do? My friends tell me they feel the same with their daughters. Sometimes, unfortunately, this is kind of, we're slamming the stable doors shut after the horse has bolted. Really, the telltale signs were there much earlier. If we don't necessarily bring the right environment in our homes, and that doesn't necessarily mean that sometimes when you say, yeah, but I know an alima and her daughters are like that. I'm not saying that it has to be a strict environment. Sometimes people misread having an Islamic environment as a strict environment. Alhamdulillah, I try my utmost to have an Islamic environment in my house, but I'm not strict. If you speak to my kids, they'll think I'm their friend more than I think that I'm their father. Okay, we have a very good relationship, a very open relationship. And it's one of always conversation. It's always discussion. So whenever I was sat with my daughters, I got 2 daughters, alhamdulillah, 1 son. So whenever I used to sit with them as kids, we used to talk. And I used to explain the pitfalls of things. I never said, you're going to do this, and if you don't, I'll do this to you or I'll do that to you. Then naturally, when that child grows up, that child is going to step away because they're going to think, what are you going to do now? I'm as tall as you, and I know my rights. Now you're stuck. All right? So that method doesn't work. The method has to be that you're caring for them, you have love for them, and they've got to see that you're caring for them. They've got to see that you love them. And then you'll say, look, even though you don't understand this, bache, this is good for you. And at the end of the day, you can only do as best as you can do. Okay, once a person becomes an adult, you're technically not responsible. So once the girl becomes a woman, once the boy becomes a man, and you've done your tarbiyah, then you're not responsible. Of course you'll feel sad, of course you'll feel upset when someone's committing sin, but that's as best as you can do. Should a wife always be presentable for a husband? My husband tells me I look like a desi maid at home. What's a desi maid? Is it? That's below the... Okay. I don't know what a desi maid is, so I concur with my esteemed colleague to my right, and he's explained it to me by his expression. It doesn't sound like it's good. How are you meant to be presentable with house chores, cooking, cleaning, etc.? I work and there are many masjids nearby, but none are open for women, and you have to ask a brother or an uncle if they can let me in to pray. Okay, that's strange. Was this a separate question? Same question? Is that a separate question? Okay. I just thought, what is being a desi maid got to be able to pray in a masjid? My husband tells me I look like a desi maid at home. How are you meant to be presentable without... You see, this is, I crack a joke, and I needed to say that in case sisters get offended. I do crack a joke. So when the wife is around the house, she's in her PJs, her hair looks like she's put her fingers in a socket, her face, mashallah, Allah bless her, and, she's walking around, and when she's going to a wedding, her husband's eyes drop out of his head. Right? The husband's eyes drop out of his head because he's never seen a woman as attractive as that, but then he recognizes his wife. Yeah. So why is it when our women are going to gatherings, marriages, weddings, mashallah, 200, 300 pound suits, fancy footwear, the makeup comes on, the gold comes out, whatever. And when they're with their husband, the man who they're supposed to attract towards them, then unfortunately we're not making that effort. Again, it becomes that same issue. Of course, because the sisters are asking this question, I'm answering it from that perspective. Similarly, if a man said that my wife doesn't want to look at me, and like I said yesterday, I said, yeah, maybe it's because you've got your tail that sticks out, 600 yards in front of you, or maybe it's because of this, or maybe it's because of that. So likewise, I just want to give that balance so that people understand that there's fairness here, there's equality here. I treat equally with the same brush, so don't worry about it. So with a woman, obviously when she's around the home, of course she's got chores to do, we get that, okay? But there's not chores that are, I live in a house, I have a wife, there's not chores which take 12 hours, 14 hours a day. Right? It doesn't, unless person's not planning very well or not executing things very well. If the things are done properly, then there are times where the woman can make that little bit more of an effort. And again, because it's a female audience, and I don't need to tell a woman how to look good, but there's many ways a woman could look good even if she's in her simple clothes. And you may need to reach out to my wife and she can explain that more better for you, inshallah. I work and there are many masjids nearby, but none are open for women, and you have to ask a brother or an uncle if they can let me in to pray. It's not easy for a woman to do wudu and work and pray, so I end up doing qadha salah a lot of the time. Or is that another question? Okay, I don't know, maybe it's another question. I work and there are many masjids nearby, but none are open for women. I can't really answer that because as yet I'm not the Grand Mufti of the UK. Once inshallah I become the Grand Mufti of UK, then I will make sure that all masjids nearby to any sister is open. But for now, I only have as much authority as the front room and my office. It's not easy for women to do wudu and work and pray, so I end up doing qadha salah a lot of the time. And that's a problem, isn't it? Okay, it's a problem that you can't worship Allah. And if you're going to be working till you're 65, 66, 67 years old, and you die before that, then you've never prayed, qadha salah. And that's dangerous, or at least in the 5 days in the week. So it's not a good position to be in. What clothing is permissible to wear at home? It's just me, my husband, and my children majority of the time if we don't go out. Obviously, in front of the children, we have to be a little bit careful. Okay, but between the wife and the husband, ... Yeah, fill the gap. But when the children are around, obviously there has to be a certain level of decorum because there are children there. But when there's no children, there's just a husband and wife. Subhanallah. Khair, read into that subhanallah as you please. My daughters want to wear Western clothes like shorts and t-shirts. I have some as well, and they seem to... I have sons as well, sorry, not I have some as well. I have sons as well, and they seem to wear what they want, and my daughters feel it's unfair. Yeah, because, and then this is again about upbringing, isn't it? And this is where they say, oh, well, you know, Islam is different for women, is different, because they're going to start challenging these because they've not had that tarbiyah. And when you don't have that tarbiyah, now suddenly you're applying different rules to one of your children because they happen to be a girl, and applying a different rule to another child because it happens to be a boy. Of course they're going to say this is not fair. Because when they go to the school environment, it's always equality. When they go to the college environment, it's always equality. When they go to the uni environment, it's always equality. When they're in the work environment, it's always equality. So they're thinking, well, this religion is not fair. It seems to put more burden on us than it does. And that's the issue. And it's already down the slippery slope. And there's very little now you can do to change things, unfortunately. My daughters are out late and it makes me worried. They are out with their friends going for food and these social places where the young generations go. My daughters tell me we don't live in Indo-Pak countries, so everything is okay in the Western world. Is this okay? You know, how can I even, you know, I'm concerned when my son used to go out late, never mind my daughters. But unfortunately, it's, you know, this doesn't just happen overnight. Okay, this is all about from upbringing. That's why the ulama go saw in the throat, you know, preaching to your men folk when they come to the masjid. You know, and whatever you listen through the e-masjid, when you don't adhere to what Allah is telling you, then the humans will suffer the consequences. You may not suffer them in a week's time, you may not suffer them in a month's time, but you will suffer them. Unfortunately, you won't join the dots, but the dots are there. The fact is, live your life according to how Allah SWT has ordained it, educate your children accordingly, you won't get this resistance. My daughters are adults and they want to go on holiday with their friends abroad. Their friends are very sensible, but they don't like it when I say no, they can't go. Can girls go on holiday abroad with their girlfriends? Okay, so obviously when it comes to the traveling, if we're adopting a traditional Islamic position, then a person beyond 55 miles can't travel, a woman can't travel without a mahram. So that would put an end to that, I guess. I'm struggling to find suitable husbands for my daughters. Unfortunately, it's becoming harder because they say boys, men are like children. And that's a fair point. Some boys and men are like children because they've been pampered by their mothers, and then the mother finds another woman hoping that this woman will now pamper them. But obviously that world has changed because now obviously women don't want to pamper and raise these you know, adult babies. And that's a reality. And you're not the only one who's struggling to find suitable husbands for daughters, and likewise the other way around. And you know, these are the practices that we've had, and unfortunately this is the outcomes. There's no solution to this. I can't give you an answer. It's always going to be that, unfortunately, because of the upbringing, because of how we're raising our children, then these will unfortunately be the results of it. My daughters also have said they do not want to live in a joint family household like I have. The daughters are now in their very late 20s and say they don't want to get married. Any advice, suggestions? Unfortunately not. You know, this is it. You know, as I said, I'm a very practical guy. I'm very pragmatic. I'm not going to sell you, you know, something which doesn't exist. They're grown up now. This is who they are. It's the parents have to accept it now. They never saw it happening under their nose, and they now have to accept it, and just hope that they can share their experience with other people. Assalamu alaikum. I work where there are many female and male colleagues, Muslims and non-Muslims. Is it wrong of me to go and have a lunch break with my non-Muslim male colleagues? I think the questioner, by asking the question, knows the answer. Sometimes it can just be the two of us, but we are in a public space. Okay, so you know, we're sat here with a curtain between us, and in a masjid, and yet still there's a need to have a curtain. The committee is deliberating about how women can come into the masjid and pray salah in order to maintain these boundaries. So what do you think of casually going for lunch in a place where you're just gup-shopping? You know, we end up talking about work or just general banter on life challenges, news, etc. I'm struggling at work. I don't mix with my non-Muslim colleagues because I feel they see me as an alien in my abaya and headscarf. Are you an alien? Unfortunately, my other female Muslim colleagues don't wear their abaya and or headscarf. It makes me feel isolated, and my non-Muslim colleagues always point out how the other Muslims are okay, so what's wrong with me? I also feel uncomfortable having a meeting with my male manager in a closed meeting room with hardly anyone around. It's the way the office is designed. What should I do? I find most workplaces are like this. I don't think most workplaces are like this. There are many places that aren't like this. Obviously, you've chosen this, and now you have a choice between your faith and your work. And that's a decision you have to make. I cannot make that decision for you. There's many people who've left work because it goes against their faith. I'll let you make that decision. You're a grown adult. Salam. I bought land abroad with the intention of investment many years ago. However, we gave it for rent and it has been rented for many years. Do I need to pay zakat on the rent amount I receive or on the amount the land is worth? Once you change your niyyah, once you said, okay, we're not going to sell this now, we're going to keep it. Soon as that niyyah changed, then any income that you generate from the property, you will add that to your other savings or whatever else you have and give it accordingly. Salam. From a savings account, I receive interest. Can I use this interest to pay towards the interest amount of someone else's mortgage? No. You cannot take benefit from interest. Assalamu alaikum. If there are any questions, sisters, just write on the piece of paper, pass it on, because I'm on my last one. And the plan is, inshallah, to be up the M1 in about 15 minutes. Can a gift, just pass it through the curtain, sisters? Okay, Iqbal Bhai is there, you can hear his voice. Can a gift be given with a condition attached to it? For example, can I gift my gold or a house to my husband with a condition that if he remarries whilst married to me, he must gift to the kids? My husband and I have been trying to have a baby for a number of years now, but we have been unsuccessful. Is there any specific du'as or anything we can do Islamically to increase our chances? So one can't attach a condition to a gift. A gift is a complete transfer of ownership to another person. So once you've transferred ownership to another person, then that is done. I don't know any specific du'as as such. All you do is obviously the du'a, the simple du'a I always say to everybody is around the Tahajjud time, make your du'a. And at the end of the day also, accept fate. Allah decrees what He wills. And if you feel that you get to a point where you can't have children, or you reach a decision where you say you can't have children, then what you do is you can even all look at fostering or adoption. There's many Muslim children that come from countries where migrants are coming from, or refugees, and they don't have parents, and then they end up being housed by non-Muslims. Don't get me wrong, those non-Muslims look after them very, very well. That's not the point I'm making, but obviously they cannot maintain their religious identity. So for that reason, it is useful to do that, inshallah. So what we'll do now is just answer the questions which are on these pieces of paper, and then we're good to go. I answered the question that the sister asked earlier. Is that this one? Yeah, and then you need the other question as well, the one that you showed me upstairs, so I can read it out. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum Maulana, please let me know as the sister is waiting for the reply. Assalamu alaikum Maulana, hope all is well, inshallah. I have a question, so someone asked me but wasn't certain on the answer, even though I did say it's valid, just wanted to confirm. So a man and woman met through a marriage website. After exchanging numbers and speaking with the girl's family, they both had their nikah done over the phone. The guy has never seen the lady in real life, and she lives in a different country. A situation occurred, and now the guy's text divorce 3 times to the woman. Is this valid? Has the divorce gone through? Please let me know so I can forward you the reply. Ajib. So he met online, he's never met the woman, he did nikah, and he's already divorced her. Is that the answer? Is that the scenario?
Yes, that's the scenario.
Yeah, so the divorce is done. Yeah, divorce is done.
Is the nikah even valid first?
Yeah, that's another question. But if we take the position that you can do nikah online, then the divorce has occurred. Assalamu alaikum. My partner and father of my son is in the wrong path. He is not practicing and is not mentally stable. I've been waiting for over 4 years for change. I get told I should move on but can't make a decision because I didn't get married to get divorced. What do you suggest? We don't live together, but I'm hoping for a miracle with someone who doesn't fear anyone. Again, most of the times when people write a question, they have the answer in the question, but they just don't realize it yet. And maybe sometimes by bringing it out into the open, they see it better. Waiting on a miracle. Miracles don't happen. If they do happen, they happen very, very, very rarely. And they happen to, unique people. So yes, you can continue to make dua and you can be patient. That's absolutely valid position you can adopt. And likewise, you can divorce and get married again. You see, the thing is sometimes when we don't want to make difficult decisions, we want somebody else to make difficult decisions for us. So the decision is yours, sister. You said yes to marry this person, you could have said no. And likewise, now you can decide you don't want to be married to this person. You've been empowered by the Sharia to make that decision. But likewise, you can say, well, no, I want to wait. And that's again valid. So we can't give you a right, wrong answer. It's really completely up to you. All we can say is what the law permits you to do. My question is, I already gave my zakat. I had a gold set given me to keep it, but now I've been told it's mine. I had a gold set given me to keep it, but now I've been told it's mine. I don't get that. I already gave my zakat. I had a gold set given to keep it, yani for safekeeping. I think that's what the sister means. That I was given a gold set for safekeeping. I'm going to read it like that anyway, so that makes sense to me that way. I had a gold set given to me for safekeeping, but now I've been told it's actually mine, that this is hadiyah to you. That's why she said, subhanallah. Do I have to give zakat for that? Yes, if you are above nisab. Okay. Sheikh, you show that other question. Assalamu alaikum, Maulana. Hope your Ramadan is going well, inshallah. Could you please ask a question for me to Mufti Amjad? My sister is 26 years old and has global development delay. She doesn't read or write and has no understanding of her money. It is overlooked by my mum or myself. I wanted to know if zakat has to be given on her savings from her carers. Although we've been giving it all these years, I was told that according to the Hanafi fiqh, if she didn't have understanding of her money, zakat does not have to be given. I wanted clarification on the mas'ala. Please, jazakallah. Request for du'as in these blessed nights, especially for my son. She is sane, but at the mental age of a child, not an adult. So the yani marfu'ul qalam, or the people who are excused from the Sharia in this particular case are those who are defined as majnoon. And majnoon is defined in its broadest sense. Somebody is completely unaware of their surroundings. Somebody who is considered as mentally unstable. They don't really know how to interpret the world. They literally, everything has to be done for them. They behave in such a way which can be seen as dangerous in some cases. We know what somebody who majnoon is. So that is something we need to be. This sister, yes, she may have slow development. Yes, she may not be childlike in her development, but she wouldn't be considered as majnoon. So therefore it is preferred, especially since all the other schools say that zakat is a financial act of worship and it doesn't matter the age or the state of the person, and therefore it is preferred that one gives zakat. There's some questions on here. Let me just scroll down. Yes, hello, okay, mashallah. Thumbs up, wave, okay. If you do 20, what do you do after it? Do you do 100 or only 20 records of prayer? Not sure what that means. How much days you pray for? Okay, Jesus is king, mashallah. No, Jesus is not king. Isa alayhi salam is the Rasul of Allah. So you need to look into that, Mr. Michael. We're done? Alhamdulillah. Any more questions, ladies? Barakallahu feek. Just some words of encouragement and some words of advice before we finish off, inshallah. A lot of questions which came through are based on communication. How do we expect our family unit to be solid when the husband and wife are not communicating? That does put a lot of onus on the husband, of course, as being the so-called chief of the house, but it also puts onus on the woman as well. We shouldn't, we end up in a situation, but we shouldn't complain about that situation. Okay, everybody has work. You can either be pleasant or unpleasant. That's a choice we have. But we all have work, we're all busy. So, husband can come home from work and, have a miserable face, throw his bag or whatever on the floor, mumble, whatever, and that's it. The wife will think, what's this? That just came in. But if he comes in, smile on his face, creeps up behind his wife, gives her a kiss, hugs her, embraces her, already he's, mashallah, broken the ice a little bit. She now, even if she was in a bit of a bad mood, feels a little bit different. If people don't know how to, engage with relationships, unfortunately, they do need relationship advice. They need to go sit with counselors and say, how are we supposed to interact? Because we don't learn this. This is sometimes, as parents, we don't teach our children that because we think it's a taboo. We think it's a bit embarrassing to have this conversation to our child and mention this. Well, then what happens is then the relationships break because the man hasn't been taught it. The woman hasn't been taught it. And then we're saying to them as well that don't, have relationships. don't do zina, don't do this, don't do that, then how are they supposed to learn about it? So there's a lot about relationships that needs to look at. There's also about upbringing. Unfortunately, what we do is we raise children in a certain way, and then when they start becoming independent and they start doing things that they want to do, then we have an issue with it. Well, that should have been thought about when they were young. You were celebrating birthdays with them, you were doing all the things that every non-Muslim behavior, and then suddenly when they're starting to start to express their own independence, then we have an issue. So these are the sort of few things. I remember one sister, we used to run a madrasa in Bradford, and I remember one sister, she rang me and she was crying. Right? And when she stopped crying, I said, sister, you were crying, what's up? She goes, astaghfirullah, I want to apologize to you, Mufti Sahib. I said, apologize for what? What have you done? Have you scratched my car? She goes, no. The reason why I want to apologize to you is we should listen to our ulama. I said, 100%. But what particular reason should you listen to the ulama? She goes, part of your school uniform is that the girl, when she starts, she should wear niqab. I said, absolutely. And I said, I got a lot of kickback from the community saying, well, some of these are only, because they start in year 7. So they're already young, why they're wearing it? And I said, look, it's just a standard procedure, it's a uniform. So I said to my daughter, you don't need to wear it. But she said, yeah, but Mufti Sahib saying it. She said she wanted to wear it. She goes, Mufti Sahib is saying it and I don't want to upset Mufti Sahib. So she goes, no, you're all right. When she got to year 9 or whatever it was, and I said to her, wear it, she goes, no. She goes, now I can understand the hikmah of the ulama. That they tell us to do things, but we think we know better. And then once we start to do those things and then it blows up in our face, then we say, where's the ulama to help us, whatever. Follow the instructions. And when I say that, again, some people say, I get confused. Yeah, don't speak to too many ulama. Don't watch too many videos. Find your local alim, somebody who you trust, somebody whose taqwa you look at, somebody whose knowledge you respect, and then just go by that person. If that person is a true, mashallah, person of knowledge, when he can answer your questions, he'll answer them. And when he can't, he will go to a higher source, he will confer with a senior scholar, and he will get the answer and he will come back to you. And then at least you're going, if you're going to go to 15 different places, look for an answer which suits you, or engage with so many different things, then there's going to bring about confusion. So also, inshallah, the woman in the house, she, mashallah, runs that family. Yeah, the woman is the driving force of the family. As much as the father thinks he's the driving force, he's not. The woman is the driving force. I always say the mother is the glue. The mother keeps the house together. My mother passed away 3 years ago now, may Allah bless her and give her the best maqam, ameen. And when she was alive, no matter who fell out with who, she'd always manage to get us together. Right? Somehow she'd do it, she'd pull it off. Now, apart from those brothers and sisters who make an effort, they'll connect. Those who don't, they won't connect. And that's because she was it's a woman, and that's a woman's fitra, that's her mizaj. My dad, Allah bless him, is still alive, but my dad is my dad. Yeah, that's just him. He'll just smile. But she was the glue. She was the one ringing around, making sure, you're not going to go until you've eaten, whatever. Even when she was doing taqseem of food after, when we were going from Eid Salah, or from Eid and we were going, she would literally by weight weigh out the food. So not one of her child would have less. Yeah. That's a mother, that's a woman. And I'm still remembering those days even now. So a woman has that, mashallah, maqam. Now you see what's happened is, in society, she's being told to be something else. She's told her value is in her career. She's told her value is in how her boss thinks of her. She's been told her value. Remember, her boss is also a man that she's working for. So when a woman says, no, I'm empowered, I want to go work. Yeah, but who's your boss? He's a bloke. Okay, how much of empowering is that? It's not really empowering. So rather than that, is to make that mahol so the children are, mashallah, happy where they are. You yourself are content, your husband is content, and then it's a happy house all day. And that is a task where, even when the women used to ask the Prophet ﷺ that, why can't we perform battle? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And for a woman, the task is less onerous, but it's consistent. Yeah, it's consistent. And that's for her to perform, and inshallah, Allah will give her Jannah as a result of it. At the end of the day, what we seek is Jannah. We've made this world our Jannah. And when we don't get satisfied by what this world offers, we get upset. We feel like, I'm not really reached my potential. I feel like I'm not really getting anywhere. This is wrong thinking. Our maqsad is just to get through this life. Once we get through it, then watch. Allah SWT does not differentiate between a male and female in terms of giving ajr to them. He will give the ajr according to what that person has done. He's given them different tasks, mind you. He's given them different jobs, but the ajr he will give accordingly. So may Allah give strength to our sisters so that they can be the hallmarks of those women of the past. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.